And it takes 20 years, 30 years, and everybody says, you stink, you're terrible. You spent all that time, all regret, your whole life is defined by your failure to do this. Is it still something you want to do? Then go do it, because it should be no other choice in the matter. It takes like an irrational passion to do it. I made a movie with my family's money and friends' money, which failed completely at 21. Made another movie for Miramax that's failed completely. I mean, no one saw these movies. I was done. And the reviews were horrible, everything was terrible. I sold a script to Fox. They fired me immediately as a director. I've been on the list of worst directors of the year so many times and saying, you're done, you're done, you're done. There was a moment where no one would make a movie with me, just recently. I don't really think about twists like that, like a dance move or something. I gotta hit that dance move. Right. It's really about the characters, and if plot comes out of characters, it tends to work much better and much more organically. If I'm hesitant at all about an idea, that's not the right idea. Or at least I can't see the angle, because a lot of times it's two things. You need to have the idea and the angle on the idea. When someone comes up to me and says, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be an actor, I'm trying to talk to my parents, what do you think, what should I do, and all this stuff, and I'm like, if there's a choice involved, don't do it, for sure. If there's a choice, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a dentist, and you're thinking about doing this, I love movies, I want to be a director, I think, Don't do it. Don't do it. If there's no other way, there's just no other way. I was like, imagine you've lost the person that you love. Your parents think you're a failure. Everything has gone wrong. Everything. Do you still want to be and it takes 20 years, 30 years, and everybody says, you stink, you're terrible. You spent all that time, all regret. Your whole life is defined by your failure to do this. Is it still something you want to do? Then go do it, because it should be no other choice in the matter. It takes like an irrational passion to do it. There will be those people that kind of do the process and then get lucky and fall into it, but I don't want to watch movies by those people. I want to watch movies by the people that there was no other choice.
Seeing The Sixth Sense in theaters when I was 11 was one of the most mind-blowing, formidable, unforgettable theatrical experiences of my entire life. And I've always actually wondered, do you remember the exact moment that you came up with that ending? Do you remember when and where it came to you, that moment where it just clicked?
I think I do. It's blurring a little bit now, but I do. My wife was writing something. We were upstairs, and we had an apartment, and there was like a little upstairs room where she had a desk, and I was sitting on the sofa, and I was like, why aren't they speaking? Why is the couple not speaking? What's the marital problem? Why aren't they speaking? And wait a minute. It was like that. It was literally like that. It came from character, which is what writing when it's, you feel really great about it, that plot comes out of the character.
So the ending came out of, I guess that's out of the plot, not like you came up with the ending and then had to figure out a plot to match it. That's fantastic.
Best for me is plot comes out of character is the best way plot can happen. So for example, one that you've already seen, so like, in Sixth Sense, it's like he's working with the boy. Oh, I wonder, what's this guy's marriage like? Well, he goes home, he doesn't speak to his wife. He just has a difficult time communicating with his wife. Why doesn't he talk to his wife? I can see this character. He goes home after talking to children all the time, and he goes home and he can't talk to his wife. Why can't he talk to his wife? Oh my God.
What happens?
And so plot comes out of character, right? Organic, very organic coming out. You don't have to genetically change the piece to make that plot thing work. It came right out of character, Yeah, there's some really interesting techniques in The Visit that I didn't have a chance to do before, and one of them, for example, is no score. There's no score in the movie, which is always it's a crutch, but it's a beautiful crutch, and it's so powerful. Music is so powerful. It's almost 50% of the storytelling, and if you take that out, then you have to. The audience doesn't know whether the scene is funny or scary or suspenseful, and they have to do more work. They have to, and that's what makes it more tiring for the audience when they watch a movie without music. So you have to be very tight in your storytelling, but it gives you the great advantage of you haven't set expectations in a certain way too far. They're still working it out in their head. I haven't defined anything yet. You don't know what you're watching yet. If I'm hesitant at all about an idea, that's not the right idea. Or at least I can't see the angle, because a lot of times it's two things. You need to have the idea and the angle on the idea. So you can have the great idea, you can have the the big idea that would have changed the world, but you're coming at it from, there's only one way to come at it where it's going to explode, and you're coming at it from this angle. I learned that a lot. Like, if the idea, for example, for Unbreakable, which when I said, oh, okay, the original idea was a plane crashes, everyone dies except one person who isn't touched at all. And then someone taps him on the shoulder and says, I think you're a real life superhero. I think that comic book characters are based on reality and you're one of them. That was the original premise, which is a big idea. And I chose the angle on it that was about a person who was gray in life, a person who was somber, who didn't know their way, and they just weren't a good father, they weren't a good husband because of this not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And through the process of finding out what they are, a comic book hero, they find balance and peace. Now that's a kind of dark angle on that huge idea. That's what I wanted to make, that's how it was going to be from me. But I know if someone else made it, they could have done another angle, which was this angle, which popped into my head as well, which was, every kid thinks their dad is Superman. This one kid is actually right. And that angle would have meant 4 times box office, everybody going crazy, all that stuff. I know that just wasn't what I was feeling, and to some extent you need to have kind of the idea and the angle that is you. When I got married, we were making a decision about whether to go to Los Angeles or not so I could pursue filmmaking, and decided not to do that for being just being a human being. It always scared me, Los Angeles, and being there, and Philadelphia was so much who I am. And it ended up being a very difficult thing because everyone's over there, 3,000 miles away. But in an ironic way, it became my greatest strength because I was writing things that were very different and talking about things that were very specific to me. And I would drive by a crop circle because we live in Pennsylvania, and I would write about crops in a crop circle in a field, and all these different thoughts that came from being in Philadelphia, and that distinct voice. And we'll talk about that a couple times. Gave me great power. The more specific I was actually made me pop from the group.
Congratulations on the film. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of the story and everything, but in doing research for this, now you funded this movie on your own, right? You were like, I'm just going to go make a movie.
Yeah. It was, I had this idea for this small, weird, twisted movie, and I just, wanted to just go make it. And I don't know, it was one of those kind of confidence in the story kind of things, but also, trusting in that if you just concentrate on characters, story, and good partners, that everything's going to work out. And so we just kind of went away and shot it. I had no idea we would ever get here where the world would be seeing it, and it was just, you just go make a story you believe in.
Is that a thrill to be doing that? Is it more nerve-wracking than before? I mean, what's more nerve-wracking, having someone having the faith of $200 million in you, or the faith of, this is me, this is mine, and this is my family's money and my money?
Yeah, well, you act a little differently when it's your money. I'll just tell you that right now. You work just a tiny bit harder, just a tiny bit. You think about everything just a little bit more. It just means just a little bit more.
We got to beat that light. We got to beat that light, guys.
But what it does is makes you very primal as a storyteller. Kind of, you're holding to something that's important to you, and it does allow you, when you're making a movie at a lower budget, at least in my mind as an artist, to do quirkier, odd things with the movie, and you don't have to be as safe with what you're doing. And in fact, when you guys see it, there's a couple scenes in there, a couple in particular that just would never have been made in the studios. It's just, that would have been the first note. You cannot do that.
Really?
Yeah, you cannot do what you just did.
Right, explain this more or don't do it.
It's too outrageous. You can't do this to audiences. And of course, that's like the best thing in the movie now. Everybody goes insane when that moment happens. And I used to think that as I got older and better at screenwriting, the drafts would reduce and I would be kind of like Mozart, where I'd be like, here it is, it's finished, let's go make the movie. But it's not like that. you know, part of the process of writing a screenplay is I want to make a particular movie, but the movie does not want to be that. And you have to listen. You're in a relationship with this movie, and this movie is saying to you, I don't want it to be a romance. You know, I know you want it to be, but I don't want to be. I want it to be about a father-daughter relationship. And you're going, no, they need to fall in love. No, and it keeps on telling you that, but you keep resisting it. And that takes a lot of, just like a relationship, it takes a lot of work. And so the screenplay, for me, it takes, 10 drafts, usually around that, 10, 11, 12 drafts. I usually start showing it to people around the 5th draft. So, I've worked on it. It's not embarrassing. It's good. You get it. You know where I'm going. And then the direction that we need to go on, that 5% is what it's all about. I'm going down this road, just a little bit to the left or the right makes all the difference. And it's all that fine-tune work. You can see it because you end up going, I don't like the whole second act. I don't get it. Or, I'm not buying the turn of this character or something. Those big broad stroke things. And then as you get to the later drafts, you're going, this line is bothering me. And you just starts to become more and more specific, I think one of the problems that I have, because I write almost every day, is that I write plays at this point. I just write, I force myself now don't write a play. Because that, like, as if the screenplay is the finished product that everyone's going to read this screenplay. That's how I do it, which is not, and then what I realize I do is I almost have to adapt this play that I wrote for the screen. And it's so bizarre. And when I realized that, I said, gosh, because you could almost take a bunch of these screenplays, change very little, and put them on a stage, which I've thought about, by the way. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the dialogue. I enjoy the restricted places and all that stuff. But you don't want movies to become talking heads either. So these are the things that I fight within myself before I go, is it cinematic? Is it finished? But there is a moment where, you should be able at that point you'll feel the confidence in the screenplay and put it up in front of anybody, and they'll go, wow, I was terrified, or I was crying the whole time, or whatever it is, that you'll get that visceral response.
As we wrap up, I read recently that you said that you envisioned Servant as being sort of a 40-part story, which the second I read that, my first thought was like, okay, so he's heading somewhere. Like, there's an ending in mind. Do you know what the ending to Servant is?
Yeah, I mean, there's a goal of what is the show about, and I think how many shows have we gotten to the ending of, really, right? That we really got to the ending, we went, oh, that's what the show's about, and when it betrays itself that you obviously knew that the people made the show didn't know that that's what it was about. They came up with an ending at that moment, but it really has nothing to do with what you saw in season 2 or anything. I didn't want that. I want you to get to it and feel the resonance through the 40 of what that close-up of that footstep was when she stepped over that threshold. Every single thing should make sense, and hopefully, as time will be kind to that show, and you could watch all 40 and having known where it's going and going, wow, this is a beautiful architecture for these characters. That's the hope, that it resonates.
Okay. I mean, if we're talking about twists, I mean, what do you feel is a good twist? I mean,
I don't really think about twists like that, like a dance move or something. I gotta hit that dance move.
Right.
It's really about the characters, and if plot comes out of characters, it tends to work much better and much more organically. Like, you're thinking about a character, 2 people walking through a forest, let's just say, and then you start thinking, who are these 2 people and where are they going? Immediately there starts to be a kind of sense of, oh, they think they're going there, and then they've been walking too long. Hey, we should have turned already. That kind of, now already plot's coming out of the characters, and if I could, we had more time and we talk about who they are, more and more ideas of plot would come out of that. I think I wanted to make feature-length Twilight Zones, where something amazing happens in the last second and you realize you aren't watching what you thought you were watching, and then inevitably when you go back and look back at the movie the second time, everything should have that feeling that it was inevitable, that this ending was going to be this way. It's natural. These movies have become so known for their endings, and I wanted them to be elements of the movie and not so much just an ending, just that's all it is, 1 2-hour ending. And it's something I struggle with, because I basically get an idea and then I develop it, and then an idea turns into this wonderful revelation. And now I sit down and go, well, do you want to do the revelation at the end of the movie? And so, you know, that's something I guess I'm going to be struggling with for a long time, because I may not do the next movie with that kind of ending, or I may do it the next movie after that. And it's been an interesting 2 movies here, watching everybody hearing gasps in the last 5 minutes of the movie. I need a lot of information from people. I won't necessarily follow it, but I need the information. I need to kind of hear how I'm reacting to it. If you say, I hate the girl, I hate her, I hated the second she started talking, okay. You take it in and you go, what's resonating with that? What's resonating that? Or, you know, I thought he was the biggest punk from the second, you know. I wanted him to get shot, you know, in that scene. And you go, okay. You kind of have to a little bit let go of the personal stuff of, like, you know, why is he being such an ass the way he's saying it? Put that away, put that all away. But what they're saying is they lost touch with the character, or felt off rails at a certain point. You put it down, and then you see what you feel as an artist, you know. And a lot of times there's always some answer that comes from that. I often say that there's almost no criticism that isn't beneficial, in terms of something like if a studio comes and says, we want you to blow up the village at the end of the village, okay? I'm just making it up, sort of. And so they say, they want you to blow up the village at the end, and all the young people go free, and we can have the helicopters come in, and da-da-da-da, and it'll be visual. You go, wow, that would be kind of cool. And then again, that other part of me goes, you know, what angle are you doing on the movie? Is that you, or is that just the pot of gold angle? And I really wish that my angle and the pot of gold angle were the same angle, but a lot of times they're not, and I have to be responsible. I feel a lot of responsibility being in this position, to not always just click over to the pot of gold angle. You know, I've learned a lot of things about how people achieve things, you know, nowadays. So, for example, like, you can look at my life in 2 different ways. You can look at all of your lives in any way you want to look at it emotionally. So one version of my life could be going, he made his first movie at 21, he sold The Sixth Sense at 25 and became the highest selling screenplay writer in the world. His movies have grossed $3 billion. The last movie became #1. I'm one of 3 people in the world that has ever had #1s in 3 different decades. Everything I've ever written since I was your age has been made into a movie. And it just seems so easy, right? That's a version of my life. The other version of my life is I made a movie with my family's money and friends' money, which failed completely at 21. Made another movie for Miramax that's failed completely. I mean, no one saw these movies. I was done. And the reviews were horrible. Everything was terrible. I sold a script to Fox. They fired me immediately as a director. I made a bunch of movies that were really successful, and then I made a bunch of movies that people didn't like, and I've been on the list as worst directors of the year so many times, and saying you're done, you're done, you're done. I made there was a moment where no one would make a movie with me, just recently. No one would make a movie with me, and I decided to go make, and this is another story we could talk about, where I decided to go make a movie by myself and spend my own money and go for it. And I took a loan against my house, and I had an idea, and I just went away and started shooting a movie. I didn't ask anybody's permission, I made it. And I shot the movie, and 6 weeks after I shot the movie, I got nervous because I didn't get paid, obviously. I didn't get paid, it's been 2 years. I took the mortgage on my house, and as I said, the playing field out there was against me. And I got nervous, and I was like, you know what, I just need to make sure that this is going to get sold. So I went to Los Angeles, and I showed the movie only 6 weeks out. So I just shot it, just done it, to all the distributors in Hollywood. And we went to theater, and I showed it to them. Every single one passed. And came back, and I was talking to my agents, and they basically gave me the, I know you worked hard, it didn't work out, you didn't, try, next time we'll try again, kid, sorry.
and maybe we can get some of your money back. I don't know if we can, and that kind of thing. So it's over. It's literally, this is the feeling, right? It's over. Everyone's against me. It's over. The system's against me. I come home. I fly back from Los Angeles, just like numb almost, right? And my daughter is at home, and she had this puzzle, and she'd gotten this puzzle. And I just said, let's just work on the puzzle. So I sat down at the dinner table, and it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. We dumped it out, and we started working on the puzzle, and I'm like trying to find a piece, just one piece. I'm like, this is impossible. This is just, I was literally like, this is impossible. And we're quiet, we're just quietly doing it. And I found one piece, and we put it there. And it took about 15 minutes to find this one piece. And then I went, the reason, and something just went click for me, just emotionally click. It went, the reason I'm going to find the next piece is because I know there is a piece in this pile that fits in here, because I know there's a picture here, because the box tells me there's a picture here. So I'm going to keep working at this, and all I need to do is find the next puzzle piece. And one day I will have all the pieces done, and the picture will be done. And I went, you know what? I don't know how this is all going to work out for me, but I'm going to just find the next piece. And so I went into the editing room, and I just made one scene better. That's it. I just sat down and I said, how can I make this one scene better? I was like, oh, you know what? This is a better take. Oh, if I put this sound effect here, that's a little scary. Ooh, if I come in here. And I made that one scene better. And I did that the next day, and 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 the next day. And suddenly I had this feeling about the movie and a vision about the movie. And I kept on going and going until I felt like it was ready. And there was one company that passed that said, I wouldn't mind seeing it when it's done. Okay. And so I finished the entire movie and called them up and said, I finished that movie. I want to show it to you. I want to show it to you in a movie theater, though. So I flew out to Los Angeles, and I showed them the movie in a movie theater with 500 people who went bananas. And they bought it that day. That movie was The Visit, which became the biggest independent movie of that year. And I owned it.
That's huge.
And then I owned it. Then after that, I paid for Split again. I mortgaged my house again and paid for Split again. And then Split went out and became one of the biggest thrillers of all time. And again, I owned it. And now I'm doing the finale of Split and Unbreakable, which is called Glass, which is going to be amazing. And I own that too.
You're excited for that, right?